So we're going to begin as we await our secretary, Mr. Aaron Polke. We can begin with the representatives from the mayor's office and the representatives from the council member Todd's office. Is Mr. Kashan Harris? I know he's here because I've seen him. Oh yeah, there you go. If you would please come up and talk as loudly as you can. It's being taped, but I don't know. While we start to record, I want to also mention ANC 4D is having their Fall Harvest Festival this 2 Saturdays from last Saturday, October 26th. We're hoping for a sunny day at Larry's Park at 9th and Gallatin Streets and Illinois Avenue Northwest. It's from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We were going to have fun and games. We're going to have food. We're going to have a moon bounce for the children. We have hula hoops. So we have about at least 10 organizations and nonprofits that are coming, including Howard University Hospital, Mary Center, Hattie Holmes Senior Wellness Center, Newell Sewell Music Conservatory, and we have information from like the Office of the People's Counsel, Office of the Attorney General, because the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, which is very important because of financial fraud. So they're going to talk about their consumer protection efforts. So please try to come out. It's from 2 to 5, Saturday, October 26th, and pray in whatever whether faith you have or non-faith that it's a sunny day, because we know how DC people are. A little rain and everybody is in the supermarkets clearing them out and not coming out. Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Keyshawn Harris.
Hello, everybody. I am Keyshawn Harris, one of the Ward 4 representatives for Mayor Bowser, and I serve as the Ivy Leader for the mayor. So my contact information, if you ever need anything, is 202-436-2087. We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to serve our residents here in Ward 4. So a few brief updates from the mayor's office. This morning, the mayor cut the ribbon on Abrams Hall along with Councilmember Todd on the historic Walter Reed campus, which will provide 77 formerly homeless veterans permanent housing right here in Ward 4. And so since, we also celebrated another achievement. Since 2015, we have exited and placed into permanent housing 2,100 veterans right here in DC, resulting in a 27% reduction in the number of veterans who are experiencing homelessness in our city. Additionally, we'll be hosting another nightlife active shooter training. So we, this past summer, the Mayor's Office of Nightlife and Culture hosted a active shooter training for our nightlife business owners, and they were raving about it and said that we want to expand it to different topics. So this training will be on October 24th.
What does that entail? I'm sorry, but what does that entail?
Active shooter training is teaching nightlife business owners, such as club owners, and hookah bar, hookah lounge owners, what to do in the instance of an active shooter situation. And so they bring in different professionals that have worked with tragic situations across the country to train our nightlife and culture business owners what to do in these instances. And so this will be on Thursday, October 24th at Penn Social downtown on East Street at 1 p.m. For reasonable accommodations, you can visit mayor.dc.gov. Additionally, on October 24th at 12 p.m., that's the deadline for the Great Streets Grant application, which guarantees small businesses up to $50,000 to help with repairs that they need for their store. And what the Great Streets Initiative is to help designate various emerging commercial corridors to make sure that they're walkable and attractive to our residents and to new businesses in the area. And then finally, we're celebrating the new fiscal year on October 1st. So now diapers are tax-free in the District of Columbia for seniors and babies. We also increased the budget for the Safe at Home program by $2.1 million. And we provided $500,000 for grants for dental services for our seniors. And with that, I am happy to take any questions.
The dental program, for the senior citizens society?
Yes, sir.
How do you, access that?
So you can go through the Department of Aging and Community Living. So if you just call 301, say I want to get to the Office on Aging, they'll connect you, and you tell them you want to get connected to the Dental Grant Services Program.
And will senior centers such as Hattie Homes have information on that if someone
Yes.
goes in? Okay.
Yes, and then
Very
we're
good.
also doing some, we're offering free tech classes for our senior, or for any resident in DC. We also have senior-specific tech classes that teach you how to use your smartphone, how to use Microsoft Office, and how to use the social networking apps like Facebook and Twitter if you want to see what your family and friends are doing online. So we have some more information about that on the back page.
Sean,
Yes, sir.
the age limit, senior citizens,
So the free computer classes are available to any resident in DC, and then we have our senior citizens class, specific classes, which are 65 and above.
Mr. O'Leary's here. Talk to me. Just want to make sure you say it.
So I work across the street from Penn Social. Is the active shooter treaty open to non-nightlife
Oh, yeah.
folks?
Okay. The more the merrier. We're always happy to welcome residents. Well, I'll leave my contact information on the table, and I'll. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Now we have Ms. LaRoya Huff, who's the Deputy Constituent Services Director for Councilmember Todd. I think the representatives, like, for 3 minutes. I don't know if we kept Kashan to that, but 3 minutes apiece, and questions.
Everyone, greetings from Councilmember Todd's office. My name is LaRoya Huff, Deputy Director of Constituent Services.
Thank you.
I did bring our newsletter, and on the back is our staff's information as well as my number here. A few things that happened on the 4th of October. We met with government agencies about public safety concerns, 3 or 4 which are in the 4D. So we met with MPD, DPW, DCRA, Office of Attorney General, the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Department of Human Services, and DYRS. There will be a meeting we're coordinating with Commissioner Noble to have a public safety meeting for the community to give updates relative to public safety concerns that you have. As well, the DPW is increasing their parking enforcement. I know that there were some issues about gross and out-of-state parking, so that's DPW's discipline. These collection notices should be coming out within the next couple of weeks. And DDOT is continuing their alleys and streets. I did bring the new progress report for Ward 4. Also, the State of the Ward 4 senior address will be Thursday, October the 24th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You do need to RSVP if you're interested in attending. It'll be at Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center, 501 Riggs Road Northeast. And flyer is also over there. There's also a Halloween for on Sherman Circle from 4 to 6 p.m. Sunday, October the 27th. We ask that you come out and enjoy that.
You can see this commissioner in a bumblebee outfit along with his wife and daughter. If that's an enticement, if that's an enticement at all.
A couple of other things. There was the mix and mingle. I don't know if you guys got to attend. That was last night on 14th Street. There is Saturday, October the 19th at the Parks at Walker Reed. There'll be a music festival. That's also in the newsletter if you need more information. Testify at the council hearing on dyslexia. So there's information on that if you wish to testify. It's going to be October the 21st at 11 o'clock. It's regarding required screenings, appropriate diagnostic testing, early intervention for all students. There's also information on getting discounts on your water, as well for prevention programs. Now, I know that Keyshawn mentioned the dental, senior dental. One of the constituents asked about that. So we have a Todd toolkit. Right now, it's for seniors. They will also be at the State of the Ward 4 senior address. They will be taking appointments. They do a multi-range of services. And so if you have any questions, if you'd like to request one of the child toolkits that gives resources on all the government agencies that help, as well as legal. We're going to start doing a community kit because, you know, we have a community that just doesn't comprise of seniors. But if you'd like to get information, please feel free to reach out. Are there any questions? Awesome.
Any questions for the Deputy Director of Constituent Services for the council member? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much.
I'm going to take one of these too.
Okay. Yes, please. We are going to go to the agenda now since we have a quorum. Have the agenda. I'm going to determine a quorum. Peter Tabor, 4D01.
Here.
Renee, 4D02. Here. Commissioner Aaron Polke, 4D03.
Here.
Commissioner Barden, 4D04.
Here.
Commissioner Branton, 4D05. Absent. Commissioner Jonathan Noble, he's not here yet. We expect him here. Okay, we have to make approval of the agenda, make two motions to add the Ward 4 representatives to the State Board of Education, Mr. Fraser O'Leary, remarks, and to add a vote on our Fall Harvest Festival budget. Commissioners, do you have any modifications to the agenda?
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of these modifications to the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the agenda is approved. We'll bring up Mr. Fraser O'Leary, who is the Ward 4 representative to the State Board of Education. Take it away.
Good evening, good evening. This is the first time I've been able to be at this meeting for a while because our Board of Education meetings are at the same time, the third Wednesday in the month. This time, there are members of the board in Omaha, Nebraska, at some national meeting about whatever. We moved our meeting next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we have our public hearing, and it's about teacher attrition. I don't know if y'all are aware that the District of Columbia has one of the highest numbers of teachers leaving the system every year in the entire country. And I'm in charge of the Teacher Retention Committee, which is, we're trying to find out why teachers leave. And we want to solve why they try to get people in there so that we can retain teachers. Teacher used to leave because what's wrong? You're not
No,
I believe you. I know why they leave.
Money?
actually pretty,
I'm not asking for any money. No. Now, teachers don't leave because of money. All right?
because they're pretty highly paid.
Some of the highest paid teachers now. It used to be that way, but it's not that way now. So I'd appreciate it if you'd like to come and listen to the hearing. We're going to have a lot of people there talking about why they left or why they shouldn't leave. And it affects our students.
Yes, it does.
Right? I don't know, those of you that have students in the school system, and I was in the system forever, know that, and I was there every day. I love going to work. But if the students don't have their teacher regularly, it affects their education. All right?
Can you give us the where, when, and where?
It's at 41 4th Street, and right at Judiciary Square Metro. You get off the Metro, just make a left, walk 50 feet, and you're in the building.
And it's
the old City Council building.
So the date and the time.
23rd of October, next Wednesday.
Okay.
Starts at 5:30.
Okay.
5:30. I visited all the schools in the the first couple of weeks of school. I was so excited because being a public school person and being in schools at the beginning of school every year, I never got a chance to go to other schools, and it was really interesting to see the education is that our students can attain here in the ward. There are several schools that need some help logistically, but generally, as far as the plants are, the physical plants, they're fabulous, and you should go around and see what we have in the whole ward, both public and charter schools. Coolidge's homecoming is this Saturday at 3 o'clock. And if someone asks me where is it, I don't know anything about homecoming. Saturday at 3 o'clock at Coolidge. And I left my cards on the table, and are there any questions? Yes, sir.
They had a ribbon cutting at Coolidge recently,
Right.
and there was a statement made about Coolidge, Whittier, and the new
Ida B. Wells. Right.
Could you explain how, if the student starts at the lower grade, what is the transition from one school to the other?
What we want to provide, because both Coolidge and Roosevelt are two Ward 4 high schools. And all the high schools are brand new. All the middle schools in the ward, both McFarland, we have two, McFarland and Ida B. Wells, brand new, all right? What we want to do is for students to want to go to elementary school and then go to their neighborhood school and then go to their neighborhood high school. And we want to provide the incentive for parents to want their children to do that. Most of us, and I'm probably older than everybody in the room, so how old are you?
Pushing 90, sir.
Okay, pushing 90. Well, you're way older than I am. But we go to our elementary school and we can't wait to get to the middle school, or used to be junior high. And then we can't wait to get to the high school. And that's what we want to build with these new schools. Now that we have that at Coolidge, the enrollment at Coolidge last year was very, very low. I mean, really low. But Ida B. Wells right now, they have one grade there this year. They'll have 2 grades next year. They'll have 3 grades the next year. This year they're over enrolled. So that's a really good sign.
Yes, it's
And we want to get Whittier up so that people want to go to a new Whittier. I mean, you got an old Whittier which needs some logistical help, and then you got a brand new middle school and you got a brand new high school. So that's what we want to have happen.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
I have a 2-part question. One, has the roof or the leaking issues at Whittier School been corrected? And number 2, I think Lafayette, is that K through 8 or just elementary?
Just elementary.
Do the other elementary schools in Ward 4 have the same types of courses and activities as Lafayette School?
That's a really good question. And I don't have the answer for that. I'll find out and I'll let you know. Lafayette doesn't have the same feeder pattern. Lafayette and Shepherd have a different feeder pattern. Their feeder pattern is Theo Wilson, right? So they and their parent organizations are much stronger than the organizations of the other schools, right? Now, Ida B. Wells feeder patterns of Sal Backus, Brightwood, Tacoma, and Whittier. Okay, we had a problem with transportation from LaSalle Backus. You're familiar with LaSalle Backus is not just right around the corner from Ida B. Wells, and we're still working. We're not getting any help. That's why we need your help. We're not getting any help from the chancellor. We're not getting any help from the deputy mayor. We're not getting any help from the council member. We're not getting any help from the mayor to make sure that we have a dedicated bus that will pick kids up from Brightwood and LaSalle Backus so that they can get them to Ida B. Wells.
Oh. Yeah. Well, that was it. That was it.
What do you consider Truesdale middle school or just the plain elementary?
K through 8.
Say again?
Truesdale, what is it? Elementary?
Truesdale is an elementary school.
But it's through 8th grade.
I thought it was a middle school.
So
It's K through 8.
they're aging. It was an education campus that
It was an education campus. Now it's no longer.
Oh, they changed it. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so the middle school grades are basically graduating out.
Yeah, they're transitioning.
This next year will be the last year that there's a class in the middle school. and then it will go to being an elementary school.
Back to where it was.
The same thing's happening with West. I live right across the street from West. West was an education. Somebody had this idea to have education campuses, which got rid of. The same thing happened to Cardozo.
Yeah.
We left Cardozo for a year and a half, and they rebuilt the beautiful new Cardozo. And that August, we found out, principal found out, teachers found out that we were now an education campus. We had a middle school with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the same building with 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Now, whoever made that decision, I mean, literally, we didn't know it until August.
The teachers.
The teachers didn't even know. Yeah. So the whole concept of education campuses, Bell and Lincoln are Columbia Heights Education Campus, all right? They programmed that, all right? The other, I don't, that's a great question that you need to bring up.
I mean, Truesdale now goes, just to clarify, it goes to McFarland. So that's the junior high school for the kids that are now, as they graduate, or the middle school, sorry, the middle school. So
there's a ninth graders go, we don't have junior highs anymore. So the ninth graders are at high school.
Right.
That's been going on for a long time. Yeah. That's been going on for a long time. We had ninth graders at Cardozo for the last maybe 20 years. But they don't have that, what we're used to with 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12, that doesn't exist.
There is just I'll make a point, a couple of good positive things that are going on at Truesdale at the moment. First of all, and I know we didn't actually overlap at the meeting, but you and I both made it, and I appreciate you making it to the first meeting of the family teacher organization of Truesdale Elementary. So that is starting up, and we as an ANC are supporting them as we are able to do so. The other interesting, I mean, that's just a great development. The other interesting thing is that Brandon Todd and the committee related to education, financing, and so forth have provided funds for $1.5 million to redo the playground there at Truesdale. And so that's something that we're working on this coming year. Brandon Todd, through his committee, worked very hard and got us funding for an elevator, which they have not had, to allow access to all 3 floors. So that's something that, so those are
against the law.
And it's right. Yeah, we don't.
ADA.
Sued, but yeah.
It's an ADA problem. Yeah.
So there's some. Well, yeah. Anyway, of course it is. Of course it is illegal. Right. So I agree with you. So things are. We're seeing investments in Truesdale. There's something else coming down the pike that I'm actually not able to talk about just yet, but there's something else exciting going on at Truesdale too coming. So we're really trying to work hard, and I thank you for your support at Truesdale.
No, and let me tell you something, okay? I'm your advocate for this, but y'all have to raise your voice about this. It's not, I talk about it all the time, and I don't care about anything except kids and teachers and the principals and the parents, all right? Seriously, and this isn't a campaign speech at all right? At all. But the public has to raise their voices. Because what's happening at Truesdale is a shame. You know, promises don't mean anything at all. We listen to promises every day from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Now, I know nobody here is believing in his promises, but he's making promises. That doesn't mean anything. Y'all have to get involved. And then I'll get into a campaign.
Okay, did you say, one of my questions was about Whittier, was they had leaking, and was that corrected?
That's another promise, all right? Whittier shouldn't look at all like it looks. Whittier should have been renovated years ago. There was a hierarchy. Cardozo was on the first thing that was going to be renovated, all right? The first school that was renovated was Wilson. Back when Fenty was mayor. You connect the dots. We got pushback, all right? So people have to, you got to hit the streets, folks.
So it hasn't been.
Got another month before it starts snowing.
So it hasn't been, the roof and everything at Whittier hasn't been fully corrected?
As far as I know, it hasn't.
Okay.
And fully corrected is
Because
an
it was
interesting
leaking.
definition.
Yeah, it was leaking.
That's a euphemism as an English teacher. Fully corrected until it leaks again.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're the last question.
First off, I want to thank you for your energy because when some of my siblings went to Coolidge, not Coolidge, Cadoza, you were there. I want to thank you for your energy because I know you were a little younger than me, but you were there a good while. But at the same time, I'd like to know what we can do as citizens besides speaking. He and I were talking about today with a couple other community members about action. Everybody that knows me knows I'm an action person. I'm a doer. You know, anything that has to be done in the neighborhood, people up here know it's going to get done. Nobody has to ask me. Nobody has to tell me. I see it needs to be done. I get it done. It's 80-year-old talking to y'all now. So I expect all you young people when I'm dead and gone to step up and do what has to be done. So I'd like to know so that the young people, new people coming in can understand what is expected out of us as citizens, that we can do young and old alike, male and female alike, to help improve things based on what you said. You said you're not getting any help. Well, I'm here, I want help, till I die.
I think, to be honest with you, the ANCs have power more than I do, all right? But you gotta advocate. You gotta let Brandon Todd know, hey, this hasn't been fixed yet. You know, he's up for election, all right? I'm up for election too because I took over somebody's job, but that's not important, all right? He's up for election, all right? And they have forums, when the spokespeople come here and give you their read off what's going on in the neighborhood for the mayor and stuff like that, just like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna.
You can wrap up. You can wrap up.
Okay, this whole Georgia Avenue shutdown, right? The people at 4A found out about it in September, okay? The ANCs didn't even know about Georgia Avenue being shut down, all right? And there wasn't time, you know.
Open streets he's talking about.
The open streets when they shut down Georgia Avenue that Saturday on the 5th of October, all right? From the Military Road to Berry Place.
We're gonna have to wrap this up right now. Yeah.
Oh, no. You're not alone. You're not alone. I'm gonna.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Let's go.
I'll be in the back if anybody wants to ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. O'Leary. We're going to have our first guest speaker. We have Nick Garrett. She's the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, and she's going to give us an update on the violence interruption program that springs out of the Neighborhood Engagement Achieves Results Act, but it also came out of more violence interrupters in Ward 4 came out of some violence on Kennedy Street. So, Ms. Garrett, we're pleased to have you here. And speak up as much as you can because we don't have amplification.
Good evening. My name is Nkanga Garrett.
Good evening to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I am from the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. I also have my colleagues here from Collaborative Solutions for Communities. They are our partner here in Ward 4, and I'm going to just give you an overview of our violence intervention initiative, and they can just give you a little bit more detail in terms of what's going on in Ward 4. Our office was birthed out of the NEAR Act. It's one of the statutory obligations of the NEAR Act, and we were mandated to work with the highest risk individuals in the city. We were only legislated really to work with 50 of the most high-risk individuals in the city per year to provide supports and services, life skills, workforce development to assist with disrupting cycles of violence. We are a public health approach to violence. We are not a law enforcement approach, and we are not affiliated with law enforcement. That's important to note because we cannot go into communities and arrest people or immediately stop some of the crime that's taking place. Our approach is very deliberate. in terms of being rooted in changing mindset and linking people to supports and services that help them move from a place of violence to a place of personal development. That, as you know, is not a quick thing to do.
True.
And I kind of think about this a little bit in terms of changes that I have to make as an individual. Some things that I need to change don't happen overnight. And especially when you're talking about people who have faced generational poverty, generational trauma, and other things that we know are the root causes of violence. So we work with people in 20 different communities across the district. And our focus here in Ward 4 are on the 100 to 900 blocks of Longfellow, Jefferson, and Kennedy Street. And then also the 400 to 900 blocks of Creek. And so we work with some of the most high-risk individuals in those communities by building relationships with them, by utilizing those relationships and the trust that's been built to walk them through what we call stages of readiness to change. So what does that translate? What does that look like on the street? So we were getting a lot of calls a couple of weeks ago about some issues that were taking place at 7th and Kennedy Street, about large groups of young, of men who were there, loitering. There was some drug use and things of that, drug selling and things of that sort. I want to make it clear that our job is to disrupt cycles of violence. And so, unfortunately, DC doesn't have loitering laws, and we are not security, but what we do is work with individuals and those groups to cultivate relationships, to show them different ways of living, and to connect them to the supports and services that can help them change their lives. So who does that? We have violence intervention specialists. Oftentimes, these are people with same lived experiences, people who have walked the walk, so they know what they're talking about when you talk about change. These are people who have changed themselves and have relationships that are already established. What does that look like? So I think there are a few different violence intervention models in the city going on right now. A lot of what we do, you may not see what we do, right? Because we are literally taking individuals, taking groups, solidifying relationships, taking them out of the community, having conversations in homes, having conversations on the streets, going whitewater rafting. There are different things that we do to cultivate the relationships and to get people out of the space of always having to look over their shoulders so that those conversations are a lot more meaningful. If you think about, if you had a mentee or a mentor, those are the type of things that we do with people to try to change mindset. We also, when people are ready to accept change, we also provide supports and services for them. So CSC can talk a little bit more about some of the workforce programs that they have, some of the fatherhood programs that they have, that they link folks to. And then we have case managers who work to get our individuals into different programs, supports, benefits, and things of that sort that can help change their lives. So that's one program that we have. I think that's the one you're most interested in. So I just wanted to kind of give you some background information. We were established in June of 2017. And so our program has not been in operation that long. Last year, we had a heavy focus on community-wide engagement. We learned a lot of lessons last year. And so this year, we're really tailoring our approaches to really specifying those individuals that we're working with, tailoring our services a lot more so that we can get to those that we know are causing the most havoc in communities. So I just wanted to give you some background information. I'll ask CSC to come up now just to give you a little bit more specifics about what's taking place in Ward 4.
How y'all doing today?
Hello. Great, brother. How are
My name
you?
is Alfred Duncan. I'm the program manager of our violence intervention program at CSC. And this is Roxy, special. And so, as she explained to you, what we do is, in order to curtail the violence, what we try to do is build relationships with the communities, the priority communities that we have that are, let's say, I want to say causing the most problems, but I would just say has the most incidents. As you know, well, you may not know, but one of my theories is they don't care what you know until they know what you care, until they know that you care. So that's the approach that we take. We go in to build relationships with these people and throughout the community, and we do it by using someone who has the same skill sets as them or the same experiences as them. Because if you're in the street, you're really not going to listen to someone if they don't have credibility. So we find people who have credibility and who has been reformed and is on the right path, and then we use them to engage the community to bring people towards us so that we can show them different experiences. And as you said, we do a lot of different things. It's not just, although we have things such as a men's group, we have a men's group every Wednesday in a certain ward, and then we'll have it in, we cover wards 1, wards 4, and wards 5, and we have priority areas within those wards. So we will have different groups within those wards to build relationships there. Now if we have a relationship in this priority ward and then this priority ward, and we know that they are both beefing and there is some killing or shooting or stabbing or robbing that's going on, now we have a foundation where we can bring them both to the table and do a ceasefire or just talk to them and let them know how valuable they are to their community. And not only do we do that, but as you said, we do specialty type of programs to let them see that there is more to life outside of their neighborhood. Most of the young men that are in this situation only stay in, the neighborhood that they live in. They don't really see much more besides their neighborhood and maybe other neighborhoods that's similar to theirs. So we take them on retreats. We take them, as she said, whitewater rafting. We have all of these different ideas that we are even open to take them and show them that there's more experiences than what they have in the neighborhood. And it's been very successful. We have a lot more room to grow. We have a lot more things to do. But we're excited at the progression, and we're excited in the way we.
I wanted to also say something else. The purpose of building relationships is not only to change individual lives, it's also to broker peace agreements between different groups who are feuding. And so we do that. The only way you can do that is if there's an individual or a group that trusts you to be able to bring the two sides together. Because if they don't trust you, they won't dare work with the other side. So that's the other side of this. And then oftentimes you'll see CSC just doing community-wide events. And that is to build relationships with the community as a whole, because we want to make sure that you all know who they are and what they're about, so that if you have individuals that you're concerned about, you can call them as well and say, you know what, my neighbor down the street, or, I'm concerned about this situation, I know it's brewing or whatever. So we have to let you know that we're there. And so sometimes you'll see us doing, or you'll see them doing some community-wide events just to make sure you all are aware of who they are. So.
And to add to that, our program have priority areas, and we have people that we focus on. However, we have other programs within our organization that is for all communities, for everyone that's in our ward, as far as the workforce development program, the truancy program, the homeless program. We have all of these different programs that are for the entire community versus this particular program focusing on a certain type of individual. And so we're also very proactive versus reactive. So when she said we come in the neighborhood and we do pop-up socials and we do certain events per month just to engage you so that you know that we're trying to get in front of any kind of situation versus coming in every time when something happens.
So is that something where citizens or commissioners can reach out directly to your office and talk about something that might be happening?
We encourage that. I mean, the more information that we receive, then the better we have, the more capable we are at curtailing the violence.
So you'll give us your contact information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And this is actually...
Did you want to say something, sir?
No, they're doing a great job.
Okay, all right. Okay. Did you have something else to say? Okay, we'll take some questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I had a quick question. We had a sense at one point that there was going to be an office for the violence interrupters that was, Jefferson,
Brightwood Church
Kennedy area. And then I've just heard from various people that maybe that didn't end up happening. What's the current status of like office footprint of the violence interrupters in that area?
We're looking for a location. We did have it located on 8th and Jefferson, and the church
You speak up, please. You said there was the church at 8th and Jefferson.
The church on 8th and Jefferson got hot. But basically what it was really hot in there. It was some ongoing issues where it needed to be redone, I would say. We did hold a class there this past summer where we had roughly like around 25 kids that participated. A couple of the guys from around 7th and Kennedy. Even though we're still in the process of trying to find them a job that's suitable for them. Because one of the issues that it is that I engage with the guys on 7th and Kennedy. They're asking for help, but before you judge it, you gotta understand their livelihood. Some of them come from a background where the trauma and mental health is an issue. One of my partners that I coach with from Emory, Coach Pat, to speak on that. Once you get to know these kids, you'll see why they the way they are. You got a lot of new offices, a lot of new businesses that's being built around there. These kids, this is all they know.
And young adults.
I'm sorry. And young adults, this is all they know. Some of these kids, when we do take them on trips and stuff, it's opening their eyes. It's not their fault, it's their upbringing. It's just like when me and Coach Pat coach over 200 kids. When we take them like to play in Arizona, Wisconsin, or whatever, you see their eyes open. A lot of them is not their fault. It's resources and their upbringing, and mental health plays a key aspect also.
So, but returning to the question, so you looking, as you guys are looking for a permanent location in the Kennedy Street, Ingraham, Jefferson area, and you haven't found one. Is that the issue?
We found one church, but the church I'm thinking it's not suitable.
It's not. So you're going to move.
Still looking for somewhere else.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And you'll let us know when you have something.
Right.
Okay.
There's some disappointment in the community in terms of the lack of physical presence and having a place that people could actually go to. So, and I share that concern. So if you need any assistance in making that happen, we're happy to do that. But that's something that's been raised with me many times.
We definitely could use the assistance in locating a building or a place where we can have a.
Are there any other questions for the commissioners?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Well, first I want to thank you for your hard work. It means a lot. And I want to ask, I heard you said at the beginning that there were 50 individuals who are identified as high risk. I'm a little bit curious as to what's the procedure to identify? Is it because they've entered the system after committing an act, or is it because of other pathways? But I just want to know how the individuals who you identify as high risk are identified.
So again, legislatively, we were set to work with those, the most high-risk individuals. Those could be classified as those who have multiple gun charges. So the most, the highest violent types of incidents. And it's, we get referrals. Those individuals are in our Pathways program. So Pathways is a year-long program that's rooted heavily, it's a workforce program, but before you can even get to talking about workforce, you have to talk about mindset. How did you develop the mindset that you had? What were the experiences that you had? How do you break the cycles? And we take them through a 9-week training program that addresses all of that. I'm going to get back to the question in just a second, but it's important to talk about that program. Our flagship program. We have an incredible trainer with lived experiences that really walks people through that. There is what we call mandatory just self-reflection, and that presents itself in the way of individual therapy. So at first, of course, it's optional for you to say, I don't want to talk, but you have to go to the session, right? Now, if you want to sit there and draw or journal or whatever, that's fine. But we find that our Pathways participants actually enjoy going to the sessions. Now, after they get over their hesitancy, they're then placed in subsidized employment through a partnership with the Department of Employment Services, and then they move into unsubsidized employment. We've had pretty great success with that program. How do we determine who goes in there? It's a combination of what we call community referrals or credible source referrals. So if there are people who are in our priority communities, which happens all the time, to say, hey, I have a young man from 7th and Kennedy who I know would be good for your program, then they refer them, we interview, and then, and if they meet the criteria, they get accepted. We also have partnerships with other sister agencies that help us to identify those individuals. Yes, sir.
I just got one question for you. Because you never exactly place the age limit. If it past 25, 24, 3, how far do you take people into the program? What age limit?
Yes, sir.
And which age limit is the lowest point?
So for our violence intervention program, which is what these gentlemen what they're engaged in, there is no age limit. So we have a 9-year-old to a 50-year-old to
how old?
50, 99, whatever. That's who they work with. For our Pathways program, the age range is 18 to 35.
Oh, 18 to 35. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Quickly.
How and where do you get your financing? Are you getting government support or citizen support? Peck and I were just involved with an organization that we with Crystal Brandon, who is not here this evening, who's the ANC commissioner as well, started called Man Cave. And we started out in the program supporting the program out of our pockets, and we ran into some problems. So when I listen to what you're saying, I'm concerned about, because you can't do anything without financing. I'm probably the oldest person in this room, and I know there's nothing you can do without financing. Everybody here should be getting paid because we all got bills. They ain't gonna stop. When you're dead, they're gonna keep coming.
So what is it for this fiscal year starting October 1 of this year? How many violence interruption specialists have been funded?
So this year we had an increase from 2.8 million, and please forgive me, I should know this because I'm doing contracts, but it's over 3 million for this year. And I don't want to tell you it's well over 3.4. And so that's the budget that we're working with to fund 20 communities across DC.
And how many in in Ward 4, and particular in this area that you outlined from along Kennedy Street, Longfellow, Jefferson, Crittenden?
So that now we're still in negotiations on their contract. Right now we have 5 violence interventionists.
For this area or for all 4?
Well, this is the only priority community.
Oh, okay.
And did you ask about citywide?
No.
Well, I just want to make sure, is this coming from the government
Yes,
District of
this is
Columbia?
Oh, yeah, this
Okay.
is government funding.
Yeah.
Yes, local dollars. Yes.
Ma'am, yes.
I was wondering, you mentioned the programs for men. We have young women who are out here doing, committing atrocities as well, and they're probably in the system and have records. What do you have available for them?
So I'm gonna they have a women's group, but I just want to let you know that the violence intervention program is open to anyone.
Okay.
So it's just the highest risk individuals, right? But you want to talk about
Yeah, forgive me for just saying the men's group, because we also have women's group as well. We also have healing circles for women. They do the same kind of activities that the men do. For instance, we took 2 groups to the Autobahn race car track last week. We took a group of men, and we also took a group of women. So women are definitely not left out. Yes, so we have programs for both.
But the healing circles and the groups are pretty powerful because once again, they're led by folks with lived experiences to kind of walk them through their feelings and their, and what they're experiencing.
Okay, one last
Sort of
one.
related to that, so you mentioned that the gentleman at 7th and Kennedy, they're from difficult situations where they grew up and you're trying to put them on a different path. Does your mandate go further back to, in addition to just the women offenders, like the mothers and the fathers and the parents who have young children, so we don't get to the point where you're trying to divert them to a different path, starting young? Does that
Can you repeat the question because someone is recording?
So the question was, we know that we work with individuals, but we also work with families in a preventive measure. And the answer is yes.
Yes. So once we identify someone that is in the priority area, that's tier 1 or tier 2, we then do our assessment. And our assessment, the majority of the time, if not all the time, shows that certain resources that they need. So we give them wraparound services. That is not just about empowering them and showing them difference, but it's also about your family situation, to see what it's like in your household. It's also about the education of your family. It's also about the food. It's about almost everything that could be an issue that's causing you to be out here doing things that you don't need to be doing. So that's the other part of our agency, where once we identify them, the beautiful thing about CSC is that we have a lot of other departments that help us provide wraparound services.
Thank you. That's going to have to be the last question. Thank you all. Very informative. Appreciate it. And if you have contact info, you're gonna be in the back. If you have contact information for people who may want to get in touch with the violence interruption specialist,
So I've been,
until you get because you don't have an office.
This is my 3rd week in this position. So you can, I'll say my information out loud if anyone wants to write it down. My name is Alfred Duncan. My phone number is 202.
Alfred Duncan.
Alfred Duncan. My phone number is 202-391-1527. And my email address is aduncan, that's ADUNCAN, at wearecsc.org. Can you repeat that again? At wearecsc.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. We're going to have to move very quickly on to PEPCO. PEPCO is going to make a presentation. Tonight it's not going to be Mark Battle, but it's going to be Mr. Wickfield, who is the Public Affairs Manager for the District of Columbia region of PEPCO. Mr. Wickfield?
Yes.
Can you do this in about 10 minutes and we can take some questions or less?
Not a problem. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Okay, so thank you to the ANC community for coming out and to the commission for allowing me the time to speak with you all. I will actually keep my presentation really short and just leave more time for questions, because I'm pretty sure everybody has questions about our current rate proposal that we have before the Public Service Commission. So like the commissioner said, my name is Eric Wingfield. I'm a public affairs manager at Pepco. Been at the company for about 3 years now, have a really good time in the company, learn a lot, do a lot, and I have the opportunity to come out and engage the community and really educate them on things all things going on with the company, not just with rates, but with things we're doing around solar, things we're doing around special reliability projects we have going in the district, and different projects that we have at the company. So the reason why I'm here to add more clarity about our current proposal, which is before the Public Service Commission regarding our rate filing. And so just a quick, I did prepare a presentation right here. If folks are not, because everybody able to see the presentation? Yeah, great. So just really high level. So, Pepco, we're a delivery only company, so we only distribute your power. We no longer generate power in the District of Columbia. We serve about 359,000 customers in DC, and that's how many electric customers we have, and on the distribution side of your bill. So your bill is broken up in 3 different sections: your taxes, your standard cost of service, which is how much energy you actually use, and the delivery portion, which is responsible for and how power is distributed to your homes. And all of our cases, the traditional case as well as this current proposal that we have with the Public Service Commission, is really focused on the delivery charge portion of your bill. And so here we are. So what do we file? We filed a multi-year plan, which really is a more forward-looking approach at rate setting in the District of Columbia. Many people ask, well, why do we do this? And I always remind folks of the question that people ask, why so many rate cases in DC? And so what we found, the traditional rate making mechanism really calls for the company to spend money and invest into putting an asset in service. We then get it in service, and then we have to go back to the Public Service Commission and request recovery on the dollars we've already spent on putting that particular item into service. And so what this does with the plan that we filed with the commission, it actually puts a proposal, a list of projects and initiatives that a company would like to take on in a 3-year period of time. And it actually opens it up on the front end for feedback from the commission, feedback from the OPC, feedback from all our typical parties who will be involved with the typical rate proceeding. But instead of doing all of that in the back end after the asset is in service, we do it in the front end to get more feedback and understanding about what the district goals are and what their inputs in on the project before we even break ground. There are definitely benefits to this type of approach, because with the district's current clean energy goals, it's really aggressive, and the company is really very, very much so supportive of these goals. However, it definitely requires us to kind of take a more of an innovative approach of how we look at rate setting and budgeting for these projects. As you all know, the Clean Energy Omnibus Act, which was approved and now is a law, is definitely something that really pushes to things like 100% renewables by the year 2032, more energy efficiency programming, things like that. And as a corporation, we really are supportive of that, but we wanted to make sure that when it comes to the implementation phases of that actual law, we are setting ourselves up to really also be really inclusive of what the district vision is for those energy goals, as well as being upfront and also providing more transparency and more collaboration with our parties as well. And so, like I said, so just a quick recap. So the multi-year plan really puts instead of an annual rate case, it really puts everything into a 3-year period of time. So the one we filed is all the way up through 2022. And so there are 3 years, and we've requested $160 million within a 3-year period of time to do work. I talked about pretty much doing this plan. So when we say we're doing this plan, we're really doing this plan to really give our customers and regulators opportunities to provide the inputs on our investments before we actually make them. It really further holds us accountable and for meeting budgetary performance goals. So we've heard out there that it's just a blank check to do whatever whatever they want over a 3-year period of time, and that is absolutely not true. We have to set a budget, and then the enhanced part of our oversight portion is we have to come in annually to the Public Service Commission, and they will have to review what our performance was based on the dollars and the things we said we were going to do. And if we do not meet those performances, we will then have to pay a penalty, and then that penalty will go directly back to customers. Today, if imposes a penalty on Pepco, that money goes more so to a general fund. Under our proposal right now, if we do receive a penalty, that money goes directly back into customers' pockets and affects customers' bills.
And what are those performance items?
I'll actually get to that in the slide, if that's okay. And I'll get that, I think it's in the next slide. And so, and lastly, it really, if customers on the front end knows from a 3-year period of time what we're looking to spend, we can better provide more predictability for bills in the front end so customers kind of plan as well as what their bills will look like versus if we were to go in to request recovery of an asset that we already put in place, we're really just requesting the recovery of that cost, which will not be determined until after it's put in place. And so on the front end, we have to stick within the budget, and then we're also judged and measured within those performance mechanisms around the budget that we already set. Great. So why do we particularly choose this multi-year rate plan? So when we looked at how, when we looked at how the energy grid has really evolved around the country, we found that a lot of other different states, 39 states in particular, have adopted some form of alternative rate making to really address their energy goals and their renewable energy goals as well as their resiliency goals within their particular states. And so this map actually depicts all the states who have moved away from the traditional rate-making model, which we currently have in the district, and adopted some form of alternative rate-making mechanism within their particular state. And so when we were doing our research and figuring out what will alternative form of rate design would look like for the district, we had to look across all the different states, we had to look at the district, we had to compare what our goals, what made the district, and then we had to figure out what was the best approach to really get us to where we believe we need to go and where we need to be, and then craft this proposal we have put before the commission. One thing I will also note is that this proposal does not take any statutory right from the commission. The commission will still maintain their oversight role for the company, the Public Service Commission. Yes, ma'am, Public Service Commission. OPC and interveners will still have the opportunity to weigh in all of our cases as well, and in fact, they will have an additional opportunity to weigh in and criticize us based on what we do for our annual reconciliation periods, which I talked about, that will happen throughout the 3-year period. And so what this plan is versus what it is not. And so what we did was kind of created a graphic, and it's probably kind of hard for people to see. So I actually went ahead and had this printed out into a poster. I'll just grab this real quick. And so it's okay, I want to stand right here. Okay. It really determines whether rates are just and reasonable and can reject any
You might
rate.
want to go in front and see it better.
Here we go. And I want to make sure you all can see it as well. So it really makes sure that the rates are just and reasonable. And so that's what happens right now. That's what the Public Service Commission does on the traditional rate making mechanism. It will still continue that authority under our multi-year plan. As far as maintaining the ultimate responsibility to set rates that exist right now, which is just with the traditional case that we have now, and then we will still do this with our multi-year plan. It ensures Pepco does not over-earn or over-collect from customers. We make sure that's not the protection we have right now with traditional rate making. What we have with the annual reconciliation filings that we will do with our plan is really come back and make us prove on how we've done on our performance with those incentive mechanisms. Same thing I said right here. It also provides a funding certainty over a period of time. That's another big key area that we wanted to make sure we called out that our rate plan brings to customers, and it also results in rate predictability for multiple years, and as well as limits of what Pepco can spend for a multiple period of time, and holds us more accountable to what we have, what we have specified that we say we will spend. And it also, like I said earlier, reduces the frequency of the cases that we have. So putting 3 cases in one, so we can come into the commission on the upfront what we want to do versus coming in every year to request recovery on that. And so earlier you ask Commissioner Nabil, no, excuse me. The metrics are really based on our enhanced reliability metrics, customer satisfaction, how we perform with customer satisfaction, as well as how well we're doing on incorporating more distributed energy resources.
What are the actual percentages?
Those I do not have in front of me right now.
What's that last point?
The distributed energy resources, so how well we're doing in adding cleaner energy to the grid and our procurement of more cleaner energy. Right. Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and have the commission.
Wait a second. Are you finished your presentation?
I have maybe 1-2 more slides.
Okay, go for those slides first.
Okay.
Go for those slides.
And then, so just really quickly, we wanted to just get kind of get a projection of what customers' bills will look like. And these numbers are based off of customers who use approximately 692 kilowatts hours. So of course, if you use more, these numbers will be higher. If you use less, these numbers will be lower.
Do you have any comparison of what that number of kilowatt hours is? Can you break that down into any practical?
That is really an average. So we say on an average monthly basis, we see that customers use around 692 kilowatt hours of electricity. And so the first year, it'll be $91 based on that number. The second year, it will be $95, and the third year will be $99. And that is your total bill. That includes your delivery charges on top of your taxes, on top as well as your standard offer cost of service as well. And so your delivery charges are baked into that number.
But those are only the increases on the delivery charges. It does not include increases on other aspects of the electric bill.
Correct.
Right. So this is you all understand my point? So your bill could go up. This is only.
Let him finish the slides, and then we'll.
That's fine.
To the commissioner's point, so the bill is only based on the 692 kilowatt hours. So that's how much electricity you use. And again, we only deliver energy. We do not generate power. And so if you use more, of course, you have to pay for more electricity. But as far as the delivery charge, we're responsible for. That's kind of how we base these numbers off, based on how the impact will be to the bills.
Okay. Any more slides?
And then I just wanted to call out that as far as maintaining affordability, so we do understand that there are some vulnerable classes of customers, and we wanted to make sure we built in some mechanisms to keep rates affordable as well. And so we have introduced a residential aid customer program. And so what that program is, any folks who are low-income customers, they do not pay a delivery charge on their bills. And so they will not see an increase over this period of time. And that is a program that they can apply for. Another discount program is the senior and disabled person discount program. And that is a $7.50 bill credit that they will see on their bills every month. And they will not experience as that impact as well, because their bill, and these are the numbers based on, again, that 692 kilowatt hours figure that I gave earlier. Year one, their bill is going to be expected to $83.95. Year two, $87.77. And in year three, $91.26.
Okay.
And I'll pause there.
Okay, we can take questions from the commissioners. The first question is this last slide. When you say low income, do you have someplace the standards so that we can let people know? What are you considering low income that would qualify for that?
Right. Donna.
So the residential aid discount, I'm Donna Cooper, Petworth Region President. The residential aid discount program is established through the District of Columbia government, and that's based on the average median income level. That's based on your household income, the number of individuals that's in your household, and that has to be applied for through the Department of Energy, and they make that particular determination.
Do you know what percentage of AMI qualifies you for this distribution?
I can get that to you. I can pull that up in a second.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Petworth does not generate energy.
Correct.
It just delivers it.
Exactly.
So we have all these people knocking on our doors throughout the year. I have a couple here. I have Liberty Power, who was delivering my. Now, they say that they were actually delivering it. So they're delivering it, Pepco's delivering it. Washington, WGL Energy, they're delivering it. We have all these people who are delivering it, and they say that they can give it to us cheaper than this person prior to that person. Where's all of the energy coming from that all of these people want to deliver? And then we get charged for the delivery. We get, taxes I get. We're going to get the taxes. But Pepco deliver it, all of these people can deliver it?
No.
Explain what the parts of the bill are.
Share this. When we talk about delivering power, that's through our wires, that's through the transformers, that's through our substations. So we're bringing the power in and we're delivering it to customers' homes. We do not generate in the District of Columbia, produce energy. So we're transmitting that energy from other parts of the country into the District of Columbia from generation sources. What you have in your hand are those entities who are suppliers. We're not a supplier. We're a deliverer.
You're a deliverer.
We deliver the energy. But you have to have energy that is generated so that you can have energy to power your homes. So an entity has to generate it, and there are different sources of generation. So you can choose an alternative supplier who is providing that energy to you. Pepco can go out on the market as well and procure energy for those customers who do not choose an alternative supplier, and that's through our standard offer service.
Well, with Pepco being such a large company as a supplier, right?
As a deliverer.
Why can't you compete with these other people?
Right. So
to deliver?
So let me share. We're no longer, if you go back through a period where there was the restructuring of the energy companies so that customers can have choice as relates to generation. So it was a determination in the District of Columbia for customers to have choice. And we, as our business model, are not a generator of electricity. That was determined many years ago, back in the 1980s.
Are any of these companies scamming people?
So let me share this. What I will always tell a customer is that we cannot get into offering what a customer should do or choose as relates to a supplier. But what I always recommend to a customer, engage the Public Service Commission, engage the Office of the People's Counsel, engage in an element of vetting as relates to what the companies are offering. Ensure that the companies are not indicating that you will have a particular rate and you're thinking that that is something that is long-term and it's variable. It could be within the next 6 months, it can change. So evaluate what they're realistically requesting and offering to you. Yes.
Okay, let's wait a second. Do any commissioners have any questions?
Yes.
Mr. Noble.
So, number one, can you talk about what this does to sort of the fixed charge ratio that you're using now in your calculations? Because that'd be helpful to know what that number is relative to just one. Is it 2:1? Is it 1.5 to 1?
Can you repeat that question so everyone hears?
For 2019, 2020, and 2021.
In terms of the increase.
Fixed charges ratio.
The fixed charge. So
and can you explain that to because I don't know what fixed charge ratio is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's talking about a fixed charge as it relates to the actual delivery. And so a component of that particular increase, which is moving to about $6 and change as it relates to that first year period, which is 2018, 19, as well as 20. So that's $6 and change. Within the next period, it'll be about $3.49. And then in that next period, it'll be about $3.50, if I'm not mistaken. Exactly. And the earnings, the rate of return we have is about right at 9% our ROE.
Okay. Can you stop there? Does everyone understand what
return on equity, ROE,
what that is?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
The ROE, and that's something, we are a company that is on the market, and that's a company where we have investors, and that's just a reality.
And we are an entity that the commission makes a determination as to what the ROE ultimately is. It has to be fair, it has to be just, it has to be reasonable. When we go in and we invest in the infrastructure of our system, they're investors. And 50% of that is debt, 50% of that is equity. And individuals who are investing, as you may invest, there has to be some level of return. And we have to be a financially healthy company. If we're not a financially healthy company, when we do go out on the market to access resources,
wait a second. Let her finish.
It would be higher. So the commission is considerate of customer impacts, and it's also considerate of the financial health of a company in order so that we can make the investments and a favorable, balanced, and fair return as it relates to investments.
Did you have a second part of your question?
So from what I understand, the point of locking the rate is to, let's say, assign or allocate a number of 122 million of rate increases over 3 years versus, say, whatever it is, 70 million over 1 year. And there's some history of variability to what the number that's finally approved is per year for every 18 months, relative to what actually happens. Do you have any data on Pepco's, any changes in Pepco's, say, 3-year projections versus what internally? So, for example, if you look at the same period 3 years back or 6 years back, and you said, okay, well, this is what we think our projected ROE is going to be, or where we need to be rate-wise to get there, what's the reality of that, your projection at that time versus what actually happened 3 years from when that projection was?
I would have to pull that variation just to see what the differential was, what was projected. But I'll share with you, every year we have not earned our ROE. We have always not achieved that based on the existing structure, the traditional rate-making mechanism, and recovering not in a timely period.
Yeah, and I just want to see kind of how that.
And I can get that for you. Exactly.
Commissioner Barton, do you have a question?
May I ask a question to the commissioner for my edification for the audience? So what is the impact of your line of questioning on the everyday ratepayer?
Right.
Well, my question is just whether, my understanding is that there's a proposal to either support this 3-year rate lock-in versus the 1 year, 18-month cycle.
Okay.
And my question is, historically, how good are they at projecting their costs in the next 3 years versus what they come to ask for in front of the commission?
Right. So the relevance is, since they're asking for a 3-year scope, is there a benefit to that versus a shorter period of time?
How accurate that number is.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
The concern.
So you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, I mean, I think there's a concern that in the past Pepco hasn't actually, compared to the comparable companies around the country, they have not been very good at forecasting. And so here, basically, you're asking for this lock-in. Well, we have a pretty volatile situation in terms of demand, right? We have a high adoption rate of solar, for example, in our neighborhood. There is actually flat demand, basically, over a number of years in terms of energy distribution requirements of the city. So if you're asking for a lock-in for 3 years, basically what you're doing is you're trying to protect yourselves. I mean, it seems to me, protect yourselves against what is a flat demand and maybe a decreasing demand as people use more energy efficient appliances and people get solar and so forth. And so,
right.
I just want to point out that today my lights flickered. Literally like 3 hours ago, my lights flickered. Your power was up for 2 hours.
Everybody's did.
Second metric, real metric. These are real metrics.
Right.
Second real metric. The longest delay on putting in the solar panels on my house, that was you guys, twice. Okay, we had to wait for you guys twice. That was months and months of waiting. The solar panels have to come from Canada. That happened a lot faster than either one of the pieces of Pepco is responsible for. So when you guys want to come here and say, well, we are all about renewables and so forth, I'm not convinced that you guys are the company to do that. I had to follow up 6 times, and I'm a commissioner in order to get that service. So my question is, what is it, what would lead the DC government to believe that you all are really the energy distribution company of the future that's going to competitively handle, plug-ins for cars, right, that you're going to pass on? Now you're going to start doing plug-ins for cars, and you're going to be the only one doing it, and then you're going to pass it on to all ratepayers, even though not everybody can afford cars? Are you all the ones that are really going to look closely at alternatives to starting substations, or are you guys just going to throw more copper and more substations and try and do more of these capital investments when in reality that's not actually what's required? What in the future, what you guys have been doing for a really long time is not what's required. And so Pepco needs to figure out, it needs to actually reinvent itself. It doesn't need to just try and lock 3 years of the same, more copper, more substations. That's not really a question, that's just a statement.
So you said a lot, and I wanted to unpack some of it. So let's back up a little bit as it relates to our commitment to clean energy. When we merged with Exelon, one of our commitments was that we would ultimately commit to the build out of an additional 7 megawatts of solar in the District of Columbia, which was basically doubling at that time the amount of solar that was available. And we've achieved that. Number 2, we committed to 100 megawatts of wind power, which is a commitment on our side. We have improved, and I apologize that you experienced something negative as it relates to the interconnection process, and we did have issues, but we have significantly enhanced and reduced the amount of time in which we review applications as well as authorized to operate. Right now, as it relates to the Solar for All program in the District of Columbia, which is expanding solar for lower income customers, we have worked enormously well with the Department of Energy and the Environment, with the DCSEU, to get more solar connection in the District of Columbia for low-income customers who are challenged the most. When you talk about innovation, we recently implemented a pilot project that needs to be implemented across the District of Columbia to establish what I would call resiliency hubs. It's with Jubilee Housing, New Partners Community Solar, as well as DOEE. And what we did, we advanced battery storage to the Maycroft housing complex, so that when there is an outage event, that individuals within that particular housing complex can have access to ventilation, to refrigeration, et cetera. And we have to look at the learnings from that and be able to replicate that in other parts of the city. So we are constantly driving that particular change. You referenced whether or not as a utility, whether we want to exclusively be providing electric vehicle charging infrastructure. No, we do not. We work with Tesla. We work with all of the other manufacturers and entities that are out here. There needs to be utility involvement. There needs to be private sector involvement in order to be able to electrify the transportation sector. One entity cannot do it alone. The commission approved that we could do make-ready work, not installing the electric vehicle charging stations. But to move electric transportation forward, it takes many stakeholders to actually do that. We do not put solar panels on homes and or businesses. We are the entity that makes determinations around the sizing based on the energy that customers use, and we work on the interconnection process. And I would say that many of our partners in the city would say on the environmental side that we have been working very diligently, aggressively, and we have improved our processes, and there is a commitment there.
Okay, we're going to take just 2 quick questions from the audience because we have to move on. We can have Pepco back. We have Dr. Hassan, and if there's, go ahead.
I agree with Commissioner Tony about the hookup with the solar panel. I have several neighbors who've been waiting a long time to get the hookup with the solar panel. But my real question is, are you in control of the power lines and the telegraphs and the poles? Is that part of your delivery process?
We are responsible.
What do you own?
We own the poles.
You own the poles.
We own the wires. We own the transformers. Okay. We are modernizing the system with the electronic switches.
I got you. Now, I do a lot of travel, and as it relates to global warming, a lot of the countries that I'm visiting now, I just understand from the gentleman here that the city is embarking with Pepco on underground, building the systems underground. And I would hope that that would be something that Pepco would really adopt, because this global warming and climate, the situation that we're coming into now, is really going to require a lot of underground installation. So, but thank you.
Yes, and that's what we are doing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We can't
Residential aid discount customers are not impacted by this rate adjustment increase. They do not currently pay a delivery charge, and they will not in the future pay a delivery charge. We also are advancing the arrearage management program for residential aid discount customers. That is an initiative where customers who qualify for RAD and have arrearages are placed in a position where we will ultimately put them on a payment arrangement. As they make those particular payments, we will also basically almost like match what that payment has been so that we can retire that particular debt. When our company merged with Exelon, we also retired the debt of every customer in the District of Columbia that had arrearages that were 2 years and older, because there are customers who are challenged who do have arrearages. So we have a huge commitment. We work with customers individually when they do have challenges with their energy bills as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cooper.
Thank
you. And thank you, Mr. McWinfield. Thank you. And we may have you back because this case before the Public Service Commission is not going to be over anytime soon.
Correct. Yeah.
And
like I said, we will be more than happy to come back.
Right, because
I will leave my contact information. If folks would like to have more conversations, we'll be more than happy to.
And maybe if you can come back with the last time we had it, like a couple years ago, we had both the Office of People's Counsel along with PEPCO, so they can point out certain things. Thank you.
Yes,
okay, thank you. Moving on, we have a very quick resolution, a vote on the Fall Harvest Festival. Do you have, it doesn't have to be written down, but just have the motion. We need to pay for certain things for the Fall Harvest Festival. Even the Department of Parks and Recreation for the moon bounce and 3 overtime workers, which I understand they need overtime, would be $1,000. So we're trying to get a moon bounce for cheaper than that. So we have a budget, and I believe it's about $2,400.
Yeah, I move that we propose a budget for the Fall Harvest Festival, including $900 for food, $1,050 for a moon bounce, with a generator and popcorn machine for an additional $450 to $500.
No, I'm trying to get everything for $450.
Total number?
Because DPR, they have to have 3 people for overtime, and it's $900 just for the 3 people.
Is that in addition to the week?
Everybody coming to the thing on October 22nd, 26th? Y'all gonna be there? All right, just making sure. I'm vamping a little bit while we get our money right.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You're on, Commissioner Noble.
Doing this for y'all, so
I move making sure. We approve an expenditure of $2,400 for items for the Fall Harvest Festival and the 20
And the Fall Harvest Festival includes the face painting, includes the food, beverage, and chips. It includes the moon bounce. It includes the DJ, and it also includes, I think that's
facilities.
The facilities, and so it includes everything. We got a waiver on the actual cost of being in the park because even they charge commissions money for that, but we got that waived. So it's going to be a total of $2,400.
We should know that this will be a disallowed expense. So we're using agency funds that are not necessarily going to be reimbursed by the city for this event.
Right.
Which we think is a wise use of the surplus that we have.
Okay. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Poquet. All in favor of expending up to $2,400 for the Fall Harvest Festival, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and it passed. Next, we have Commissioner Poquet on the zoning variance request at 418 Ingraham Street.
Is the owner of 418 Ingraham present? Okay. Well, we considered this matter at the last meeting. I was not present. This is in my district. Since then, we've issued a series of questions to get more clarification, most of which have not been answered. So I don't think that we are in a position to take any action to provide great weight to approve this variance request this evening. So I'm not going to make a motion. I'm just going to move on.
So we'll, if we hear from the applicant, we'll at another meeting, but she has several questions to answer.
But just to be sure, is there anyone who's a neighbor or who wants to be heard on the matter?
That's a good point.
So we will take no action until we receive answers to the questions that we have requested of the property owner.
The next order of business is the ABRA extension denial of safekeeping of Macombo Lounge's liquor license. And Commissioner Tabor, would you take that?
Well, many of you are familiar with the Macombo Lounge. It's located at 5335 George Avenue. And so this is...
Speak loudly if you can.
I thought it was loud enough. Can you all hear me? Yeah? Okay. So due to a lapse in their payment of taxes, the Macombo Lounge lost its liquor license was suspended, and in order for them to regain their liquor license, they had to get current with their taxes. Their liquor license, they petitioned and were granted a safekeeping for their liquor license, but that liquor license, that was an 18-month period of safekeeping, which lapsed at the end of September. And then and this is actually more of an update for you all, but it is also, I think, quite instructive in terms of community action and residents taking steps to to improve their own environment. We were informed that there was going to be a hearing on because the owners of Macombo Lounge had asked for an extension of their already expired safekeeping. So they were given 18 months to get their taxes in order, and then they would get their liquor license back from safekeeping. That period lapsed. They still had not gotten their taxes in order, so they were asking for a further extension. The hearing was held last week, and the ABRA board, the ABC board, denied the request for the extension. So right now, Commissioner Barton and I, we played a very small part. I think there might be a few residents in the audience here who really commandeered this effort to gather all this information, present it to the ABC board, who I think both the ABC board and the proprietors were quite surprised at the information that was, it was comprehensive information that was shared with the ABC board in order for them to make the decision. I'm not even sure that the attorneys for the establishment were aware of this effort that was underway and then presented last week. So if there's anyone from the neighborhood who would like to make any statements on this, the last thing I'll say, and if Commissioner Barton wants to chime in, is that this is not the end. We feel confident that the proprietors will probably appeal or seek another extension through the process with ABRA and the ABC board. So, but I wanted to just share this update with you all, also to indicate or to share it with you to show that your efforts do pay off. And sometimes the process within the city can be a little frustrating, but I think this is an example of residents working together and presenting a really solid case and seeing results that are at this point very positive.
Okay. Yes, one question.
They can stay open but not sell liquor, is that correct?
Well,
they didn't sell liquor.
They've been closed. They've been closed for a year, at least.
They didn't pay any of their sales taxes.
Yes.
So it's not just their liquor license that they lost, it's their business license. Okay, does the proprietor, does he own his property? Yes, so he has to pay his taxes. So he's currently on the real estate tax, not the sales tax. So he still owns the building. He owns the building. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just concerned that, because he is a minority, is that correct?
Yeah, he's not a district resident.
Okay.
So I think that we need to make that clear. I understand that we're always really focused on supporting businesses in the district and minority business in particular. This is not a responsible on my deck, there's siding that's falling off. It had a piece of wood that's dripping water for years. Okay. There's so many ruts. I had to pay a contractor to come and put 2 feet of a perimeter of concrete so that I wouldn't have a loaded problem. It's too much. Lately, there's been so much violence in that corner because nobody can police it.
Because that's not just not in office, but DCRA.
They come in and do some stuff. We take out the planter. It's basically feeding out the feed for all kinds of drugs. And there's so many drug sales to the point that it escalated to a point where crowds that were hanging around in front of the Humble were staring back at us in our windows, making us feel fearful to even get on the approaches. That to me is absolutely unacceptable. My car got shot up 2 years ago.
Oh, Lord.
There was a shooting, like there's 2 shootings in the span of 3 years. It's unacceptable. Yes, and so we with block, we're very active together. We have dinners together all the time, and we kind of come up with plans on how to better our community. And we did all road statements. We took pictures of what was going on in the neighborhood. We created a very comprehensive package, and we submitted it to the Outer Commission. Now, we weren't able to testify or say anything at the hearing, but they did take into account what our statements were.
That's good.
And it is a small thing for us, but I can personally speak for myself. I'm going to make sure that this business does not open again.
Yeah. Well, DCRA should also get involved in that because that's bad shape.
They had a new dancing license.
Yes, they did.
Also tied to liquor license. 6 years ago decided they're not going to issue anymore. Whoever has it is grandfathered in, and when they're gone, they're gone. You can't get it back. Theoretically, they can pay their taxes.
They be something else.
And they can become a bar. They can be a clothing store.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But again, the responsibility to their neighborhood as a business is also very important.
Yeah, DCRA.
Is that is for something to happen because the building being vacant is as harmful to the community as it was when it was what it was.
And that's a DCRA problem, yeah.
And I want to clarify one fact in terms of what we think of businesses being responsible and so forth. And Cherokee was talking about dollars and cents, right? It's not that they didn't pay their sales taxes for a while. As far as you could tell, this is under the previous ownership and the current ownership, they never paid city taxes, sales taxes, ever.
And that shows you how.
The new owner, I don't know.
It's, no. The new like 15 years, and then also the previous owner before that for like 20 years. None of them paid any taxes. That's
and you see a pattern. You see a pattern. What you do is you see a pattern because the same way DCRA, you can't even go into certain programs as a resident, like single-family rehabilitation, but you can't do that unless your tax is paid. But you see the pattern how the district will allow businesses not to pay their taxes. They'll allow slumlords not to be up to date in taxes, but so that's a DCRA issue.
Chair, can I link 2 points to understand in case this comes up again in the future? Has DCRA been involved in any manner with respect to the condition of the building?
It doesn't seem so.
That's my next step.
Okay. It doesn't seem so.
And Peter is on our, I'm sure we have a lot of messages on that group.
Okay.
But my next step is to ensure that DCRA gets involved because I think we have a strong case for potentially condemning the building.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of the things that you might want to mention if you are talking to DCRA is in addition to condemning the building, they do have powers to take stabilizing action and then put a lien on the building with respect to future use. So make sure that that's the next thing that you always say. Because in my experience with residential housing, DCRA will be quick to close the building, and then you don't hear anything about it for a year or two when you really want the blight to be remediated, which DCRA has the power to do pursuant to a lien.
They have the power to do that. Yeah. Pardon me?
A lot of trouble with that one.
What's the problem?
The empty building.
Yeah. They have the power to clean it up. They have a commercial building or a residential building. Most of the time they don't do it, but they have the power to do that.
Stop the group that's hanging out there from.
Yeah, that loitering.
That's a different.
Yeah, that's a different issue. That's a police issue. Well, this is a good segue into community comment before we go to treasurer issues. If anyone has a community comment, it seems like several people do. Did you have something else to say?
I just had 10 seconds.
Okay, go ahead. Make it.
And I think it's instructive because the hearing that I mentioned that took place was a fact-finding hearing. So there was no room, they didn't have time specifically set aside for public comment. I think the value of your effort, and it's just for future efforts, to be able to provide documentation, that goes in the file, it goes in the record, and I think that can be very helpful, just as helpful as oral testimony if there is a hearing with time set aside for public comment.
Yeah. Okay. Community comment. Does anyone have a comment? Any of the people that want to continue to comment for 2 minutes, limit each person on the Macombo Lounge or any other issue.
I do want to say that the lawyer...
Can you stand up so we can hear you? It's hard to see. It's hard to hear you.
The lawyer stopped us from speaking. It wasn't because of the hearing itself or like the board. It wasn't because of the board that we didn't have a chance to speak. It was because the lawyer said, well, you all never provided me with any of these documentation, and we could potentially also bring in people from the community that can testify on our behalf instead of it being a one-sided conversation.
Oh, okay.
So that's why
I thought the hearing was fact-finding.
came out and talked to us after the hearing and said, don't worry, at least your packet of letters and everything that we put together for them will be taken into account when the decision is being made.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes.
I just wanted to say that on the corner of Georgia and Hamilton, Jamie, it was a neighborhood saloon and restaurant, and I don't know what happened. I guess they couldn't.
Costello?
Right, they couldn't, maintain or whatever. But I want to say that the loitering problem of the guys who come over and sit on their property and hang out on their property, that may have been the downfall of the business, because no one wants to, if I'm there and I'm sitting out on their patio and then 3 guys from across the street who are not purchasing anything come over and sit on their furniture too. It became it was a sticky situation. Something needs to be done about that because no business can thrive in that environment.
Yeah, and we have to weigh in this city. We don't have anti-loitering laws, and the reason for that is because they're disparately applied to people of color and so forth. Yeah, so I totally agree with you, and yet we also want to protect people's rights. And so what example across the street, I was able to work with DCRA and the Mookers and with Jasmine Benab, and we were able to shut that down. Again, it has to be an illegal activity that we're dealing with. So, just keep me posted on what is happening there that is actually enforceable by any of the DC agencies, and we're able to actually make some changes. The final point I want to make is that Move and Groove, basically that out back of Move and Groove, which is in that same block, they had a number of health violations and a lot of dead rats and a lot of containers of oil, which they're not supposed to have, and there were some residents who were actually getting sick, and their buildings were being damaged by the amount of oil that was coming through the smoke from the cooking. And so, again, we were able to work with folks in the DC government to particular health agency so they're no longer able to cook, at least for a period of time.
I want to say that if there are people coming onto someone else's property, that's not a loitering issue. A loitering issue are people standing. Loitering is, there are no anti-loitering laws because it's been found to be unconstitutional, but coming on someone's property, no one has to abide by that. That's a different issue. So
the challenge becomes having the owner take the steps.
The owner has to take the steps.
Right, and they do it on the corner of 7th and Kennedy too. I'm at the record store on Kennedy, and the new business on the corner on the north side has outdoor seating, and all of the guys who hang out up there would just be lounging on all of their outdoor property on their chairs.
Yeah, that's the.
They're not purchasing anything.
Yeah, that's the owner that has to take.
Well, and that rotunda pizzeria, which you understand will open if everything is, if the stars align, it might open next month.
Okay.
We've spoken with MPD, and the owner of the establishment has to make the request to remove the people on their.
Are there any more community comment issues before we?
Well, the McConnell one, when the owners are physically not at all present, nor are they available for communication, we can't have the owners have the group clear out because there's no one there. The owners just don't.
You mean if they're in their property, and that would be a police and a DCRA issue.
It's not like 2 or 3 guys. It's like 20 guys.
On their property.
On the McConnell property.
Yeah, well, that's the benefit of taking the action to close property.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Can we not have a really continued discussion on this? One more, what your point, and we're going to work on that. Thank you. Can you be brief?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Bob Sansi from the Brightwood Petworth Community Association. We've been making some progress on some things we've been talking about for a couple of years. We recently captured some oral histories, longtime senior residents, and we hope to have those to display at the festival. We're working up towards having our second share fair in the first half of December. Exact date, place to be determined. I welcome ideas from all of you on how we get youth out to that to gain from the sharing. We plan to have a table at the festival. Please come by. Feel free to sign up for the association in the back. Tonight, it so happens that our next meeting to plan the share fair is scheduled for Monday the 28th at 6:30 at Costello's. So please come out and join us in that planning and moving forward together as a community.
Thank you. Okay, we have two more. We have this gentleman and that gentleman.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Taylor. I am the new program director for the Kennedy Short-Term Family Housing Program. Kennedy Fifth Street. I'm happy to be. The program is still managed by the same company. I'm just replacing the other program director. So if anybody wants to come out and volunteer, be involved, has any ideas that we can do with our family in the shelter, please feel free to reach out to me. I don't have business cards yet because I only met a job for the month, but my number is 202-845-8070. I'm the program director of the Kennedy Short-Term Family Housing Program from the corner of the Kennedy Short-Term Housing. Well, the shelter.
Did I give you an email yet, Brian?
Yes, I have an email. So it's BH as in Harry, as in Apple, M as in man, E as in Ernest, R as in Robert, at N as in Nancy, C as in cares, C as in cares, F as in Frank, cares.
Got it.
All right, sir, you and.
I think I got it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yassine Khalid, and I'm the community manager of the Rebel. So for those who don't know, Rebel is an all-electric shared food service. So we originally started in Brooklyn and Queens, but recently expanded our service to DC as part of a pilot program with VITA. So that's going to be 4 months long. So right now we have 400 mopeds that are located throughout all 8 wards of the city. And we actually have a warehouse in Ward 4. We're right up the streets on 31 Sheridan. That's where we have 30 full-time employees, as well as that's where we teach our lessons 7
So electric scooters.
Contact information very quickly.
Contact information on the one-pagers over there.
Okay.
So feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. There's also information related to our Rebel Access Program. So if anyone who qualifies for government assistance, cut down speeches. And there's just a couple things to really know about our service. One, mopeds, they're a motor vehicle, so you need a driver's license to operate one. They come with a DMV-issued license plate, so that helps us hold our members accountable. And they're required by law to be driven in the street and not bike lanes and sidewalks. Another thing to know is that we take safety very seriously. This is why you have to be 21 years of age and have a safe driving record to become a member. You also have to wear a helmet. So we provide each of the mopeds with 2 helmets for you and your passenger, and each of our mopeds also come with third-party liability.
Oh, okay. Okay. Can you speak with him offline? Yeah, his contact information is a one-page sheet. Okay, thank you very much. Very quickly, ma'am. Can you speak up? Yes, we tabled that because the applicant is not here.
Remember when I said that, was the property owner here? The property owner's not here. And then I said, well, we had a lot of questions and they weren't answered. So we have the right to vote for great weight for zoning, and we're not going to do that tonight because we don't have the information we need. So there's no action being taken tonight on that matter. And then I asked if anyone had any comment, and no one spoke up, and then we moved on.
We will probably have it on the, if the applicant comes back forward, we'll have it on the agenda next time because we've checked with the general counsel for the Office of Zoning on certain issues, and so we have questions for the applicant to clarify. So please come back next month. Commissioner Noble, would you, excuse me, Commissioner Poquet, the minutes.
If you have any specific questions, though, I'll answer them for you if you want to talk to me after the meeting, if you're sticking around.
Okay.
So you might notice that you all got the rainbow colors of your agenda tonight. That's because when I got off my plane at BWI at 3:45, and I ran home to print the agendas, and I pressed print, and one came out because I ran out of paper. So I tore up the house looking for paper, and I found this lovely construction paper so you can get the agenda. There were 39 sheets, 39 agendas,
so
but you're not going to get the minutes because I didn't have any paper. Okay. So if you would love to see the minutes from last month's meeting and this month, stay tuned. We'll have them here on November 20th next month.
Okay.
We'll do the minutes, but, huh?
Okay, we'll switch it to.
Yeah, maybe I started a new trend. Who knew I even had this paper?
We have approval of at least 2 or 3 treasurer's reports that we need to get done, then we can adjourn.
Right,
So. Your announcement, though.
I did bring, hang on one second.
While he's getting himself organized, I just have a quick announcement. Next Wednesday, right here, same bat time, same bat day of the week. We're going to have a special meeting regarding the design of Lorenzo Larry Allen Memorial Park, the restoration of the park, and basically people are going to be able to vote. You're going to get a sticker and you get to vote which design you like. So direct democracy in action. So next Wednesday here at 6:30, everybody can come in. Parks and Rec is going to come with some designs and get feedback. We're even going to have a conversation about exactly what we're calling this park.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Illinois Gallery, where the Forest Festival is.
Okay, so I believe I brought copies of these reports to prior meetings. I'm not sure that we formally approved them as a commission.
We did not.
It's a time issue.
We did not.
Okay, so for the month of June.
Maybe we can just
yeah, I can just
explain it. Explain it.
So for the month of June, our balance actually increased $1,460.04, net of our allocation that we received from the approval of our quarter fiscal year report. So our closing balance in June was $19,125.93. For the month of July, our total expenditures were $164.50, mostly for AV-related services. For the month of August, our expenditures were $2 for a bank service charge. And I did not bring copies in the spirit of Aaron Polkay's comment about saving paper under the September report, other than a few, because our charges were also $2 for bank service charges for the month of September. I will say that we did write a number of checks in October to catch up on, I guess, invoices that people.
So they'll probably come for next month.
Flyer printing and things of that nature, but nothing extraordinary other than what's coming up related to the Fall Harvest Festival, which we approved at this meeting.
So they're months of August, September?
June, July, August, September.
June, July, August, September, treasury reports, and are you making a motion to approve those reports?
I move to approve those reports.
Okay, and I second it. These are, we did not have very much spending. 2 months, there were only the bank service charge, if I'm correct, Commissioner. Okay, all in favor, Commissioners, of approving June, July, August, September treasury reports, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I see no abstentions. Okay. We've done the treasurer's report. Any more announcements, commissioner announcements? Do you want to repeat the date? Okay.
We do have, just to confirm, there's also the Sherman Circle Halloween Parade from 4 to 6 p.m.
What date?
The 27th.
Okay,
So the
Sunday
day
the
after
27th. That's what
Harvest
Ms.
Festival.
Huff mentioned.
Yep, that's put on by Brandon Todd, and we're trying to schedule a public safety meeting Monday the 28th, somewhere locally, and I'll be in touch on the list.
For your SMD?
That information, correct, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other announcements? Okay. We will adjourn then. We're going to adjourn the meeting, and thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it.